Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Channel 3 Sports. Thanks for choosing in. I'm your host, Zoe Wolkowitz. Tonight we have a special edition of the show because we are in the midst of March Madness and the annual competition to be the next NCAA National Champion of College Basketball. College basketball, bracketology, the journey to the tourney, and more will all be coming up on UATV Channel 3 Sports. After Arizona basketball clinched the regular season Pac-12 title, they went on to Vegas to win the Pac-12 tournament. Now the Wildcats travel to Los Angeles, California to play against Xavier in the Sweet 16 in hopes to advance to the Elite 8 for the second straight year. The Wolfpack of NC State emerged as a dark horse and busted some brackets when they beat the #1 seed Villanova in the round of 32. And #2 seed Virginia just could not withstand the Spartans of Michigan State and lost early on in the tournament as well. Of the 11.57 million brackets entered into ESPN's Bracket Challenge, none remain perfect. So with only 16 teams left in the tournament, Channel 3 Sports Analysis and I will give you some bracketology and let you in on our own personal March Madness picks. So let's get to know our C3S analysts, camp student radio announcer Justin Spears, and Arizona sports personality Jake Cavanah. So welcome back from spring break, guys. I can see we all got some color.
Yeah, especially you. You went to Hawaii. How was that?
I saw where the Maui Invitational was played.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Get some rays.
I know. Well, we have so much sports stuff to catch up as we're on spring break during Selection Sunday and the first two rounds. So as a huge college basketball fan, March Madness is one of my favorite times of the year. And this past weekend's craziness should prove to everyone why. There are winners and there are losers in every sort of competition. So we are going to talk about the worst and the best of the wildest week of the tournament so far. So I don't know about anyone else, but I definitely need to let off some steam about how busted my bracket has become after the first two rounds. So I'm going to say let's start there, kind of start on a bad note. So all I can say is the Kansas freaking Jayhawks. This is the third year in a row they have busted my brackets and been a huge letdown. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's a Bill Self team. Obviously, that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm a fan of him.
They lost 72-40 to Kentucky in the beginning of the year. Like they can't hang with good teams. They lost to Kansas State, but also Wichita State had something to play for because they're trying to make it a rivalry. So I get that they came in motivated, but it's just a standard Bill Self team. If they're on the big stage, they just can't do it. And also, they had their star freshman out.
But you got to be impressed with the way Wichita State's playing right now. I mean, Van Fleet. Obviously at the beginning of the year, everybody talked to him about being an All-American, and then Baker, that shooting guard that they have. So they definitely have some scorers on that team. And Perry Ellis, who plays for Kansas, was actually high school teammates with a couple of the Wichita players. So there was a lot to play for in that game. And I just think, Wichita State, just being the typical Wichita State team, being that they're not a Cinderella team anymore, but being that mid-major team that kind of gets it done in the tournament. So I like the way Wichita State is playing right now, but Kansas,
I'm so over them.
Like last season, it was 14-3 seed when they lost to Mercer last season.
Remember the Trey Burke three-pointer?
Yeah.
The last cool thing was Mario Chalmers' 3 against Memphis. So I don't know.
I'm
over it.
We're moving on from Kansas because we're all going to get more angry about
Rock
it.
chalk.
Well, Virginia went 30-4 this season and actually won the ACC tournament for the second straight year. Yet the Cavaliers made an early exit in the round of 32 and left the East region without its top 2 seeds advancing to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2004. So what is your thoughts on that? Because I know you two didn't have Virginia and Villanova, but I did, and that really screwed me up a little.
Well, Virginia they got hot, and then they started cooling down when Justin Anderson was messing around with some injuries and stuff like that. He's not even now, even going into the tournament, he wasn't 100%, and that was their best player on the team. And it's kind of hard, this isn't a team like Kentucky, this isn't a team like Arizona where they don't have many other weapons on their team. I mean, I like the way Coach Bennett is working things in Virginia, but it's unfortunate to see a team do so well, especially in the conference like the ACC, and they go out and they win 2 straight conference tournament championships. It's just unfortunate for a young Cavalier team, but I think they'll bounce back next season and get it done in the ACC. But getting it done or losing in the cool 32 isn't
Anthony
cool.
Gill went 3 for 9. He had 11 points. He was their top scorer. Like, that's not going to get it done. And also, they played the Michigan State Spartans. Tom Izzo's teams come ready. Care about Tom Izzo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did not have my hopes up at all for the Spartans, but my dad was actually telling me Tom Izzo is someone that just knows how to do the tournament.
They just got to get in.
And they almost got it done against Wisconsin in the Big Ten Conference Championship.
Yeah. After a pretty shaky season.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, after talking it out and trying to move on from my sorrows, let's move on to the best wins of the tournament so far. So I'm a huge NC State fan solely because of my admiration for former head coach and sports legend Jimmy Valvano. And I know that definitely, without a doubt, Jimmy V was smiling up there in hoops heaven, words by Dick Vitale, when he saw his Wolfpack come back from a 14-point deficit to beat LSU and then proceed to knock off the #1 seed Villanova. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I was just stunned. And, I was sitting there checking every second, wasn't near TV, but heck yeah, they won.
I thought that was awesome. They had 4 players scoring double figures, and they were just impressive through and through. They finished the game strong because Nova almost came back. Sorry, excuse me. But they just held them off. It was impressive. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, and Villanova, they're also in part of that Big East conference. Big East isn't the Big East that was a couple years ago, especially with all the teams moving out. So Villanova, it was like playing for the Mountain West Conference, and see exactly. And you're playing against all these smaller teams, like you're playing against Providence and all the Catholic schools and stuff like that. So
Johnson.
Exactly. So I liked in NC State competing in the ACC, toughest conference in college basketball. I think so. It's kind of hard not to root against the Wolfpack, especially where they're playing right now.
Just Jimmy Valvano's spirit was out there.
It's still there.
Oh, always. Well, on the first day of the tournament, the 2015 NCAA teams made a record by having 5 games that were all ended with a 1-point difference. So which of these 5 games was your guys' favorite and just left you off the chair?
Off the chair.
Off the chair.
I like the UAB game because it was just going back and forth. They were down by 8 in the first half at one point. Didn't look like they were going to pull it out. But I mean, they just came back, they figured it out. I thought that was great. I don't know. I just thought that was the most entertaining 1 point. Even despite I know Georgia State had the 3-pointer from Hunter, but I just like the way UAB played.
I just can't believe someone still had at the end of the first day UAB, UCLA, and all these teams.
Georgia State.
I was like, what?
Georgia State. That was Those 95 people.
Yeah.
And for ESPN, I don't get it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say the UCLA SMU game. That was UCLA was kind of one of those controversial teams. Everybody thought Temple should have got in the tournament in the field of 68, but UCLA making a case because they competed against Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament. Bryce Alford knocking down that 3-pointer solely because of the goaltending that was called on him. Goaltending, it was kind of like a Des Bryant situation. It was it's considered it's not like so like Des Bryant it's considered a catch, but according to the rule book, exactly.
Like,
just like with the goaltending, he wasn't gonna make it. He was gonna airball it, but since it was right at rim level, it's considered a goaltending. And coach's kid leading his dad to the round of 32 and then moving on to the Sweet 16. So I thought that was the most impressive one.
Yeah, in my opinion, that was one of the coolest things that has happened, throughout this tournament was 2 teams on the first day won with a coach's son hitting a buzzer beating 3-pointer to win the game. So I thought that was awesome.
Unreal.
Yeah. So that was crazy because it was Georgia State's son and also UCLA's son. So that was awesome to see.
And especially because Georgia State, the head coach ruptured his Achilles. So
2 days before. What was it? 2 days before?
In the conference championship when they won it, he was rushing on the court and ruptured his Achilles, and then he was coaching from a stool. That was interesting to see. I love it.
The cast.
Exactly, I love it.
Well, when we come back, we are going to talk about the Final Four and which team will be the 2015 national champion. All this and more coming up on UATV Channel 3 Sports.
I'm Derek Williams, the former U of A Wildcat. You're watching UATV. Don't change the channel.
Welcome back to UATV Channel 3 Sports. I'm your host, Zoe Wolkowitz, alongside analysts Justin Spears and Jake Cavanah. We have talked about the worst and the best of the tournament so far, but nothing is more exciting to any team than clinching a Final Four. Justin, Jake, and I all have Kentucky and Arizona penciled into our bracket heading into Indianapolis. But Jake, you're the only one who has Michigan State, so why do you have them?
That's
proud and loud saying it. Why do you have them coming out of the East region?
Because I care about Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo only cares about the tournament. He's 16-1 in the round of 32 games in his career. In 18 years, he's 44-16, 6 Final Fours, 1 national championship. All he cares about is the tournament. As long as his team makes it, they'll be fine. And even the legend Magic Johnson said himself, right now, the Spartans are playing the best basketball they have all year. And I think he's a pretty credible source to take that from. So, I mean,
yeah,
I'm looking good with the Spartans right now.
It's definitely an example of getting hot at the right time. And everyone says that that's what March Madness is about, you know, getting hot at the right time. And like you said,
season's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, Justin, you have Louisville, so 4th seed. Why do you have them coming out?
Well, because they have probably one of the best players in the country in Montrezl Harrell. You know, he's just such a big body. He's a rebounder. He's a scorer. He plays well around the rim. Complete animal. I like the way he's playing, and especially, you know, Rick Pitino, just like Tom Izzo, he may not have the best regular season. Okay, we all know that. You know, John Calipari kind of set the tone in the state of Kentucky at who's number one in that state, and you know, Rick Pitino, like Tom Izzo, he has his players playing right at the right moment. I like in ACC, so they're already used to playing tough opponents. They're already used to playing guys like Duke and even played like the late NC State. You know, they're playing well.
Exactly.
So I like Louisville's chances, and you can't go wrong with a 4 seed, especially in that bracket. So I got to go with Louisville.
So it's going to be a battle between you two. Wonder who's going to be right. Seems like you two definitely have a thing for the big coaches.
It's a coaches' league now.
It's all about the coaches.
It's all about the coaches.
Well, I personally have Gonzaga going into the Final Four and even the championship game. The Bulldogs are led by my favorite, senior and West Coast Conference Player of the Year, Kevin Pangos. This kid is similar to TJ McConnell in how he plays and just so much with his heart. And in the regular season, he averaged 11.6 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals per game. Down under the net, he also has help from Gary Bell Jr., who is named a top defensive player of the year. And let's definitely not forget Kyle Wiltshire, who is a transfer from Kentucky, who is also named newcomer of the year. So this team is stacked, and Pangos is not going to let his last collegiate game end without a Final Four or some bling on his finger. And I see the definite similarities between him and TJ McConnell. So I think that's why they both have very high chances to both go to the Final Four. Or both be in the championship game against each other.
Oh, and see, I would love to see a matchup of Arizona Gonzaga, especially
a rematch.
Exactly, because Gonzaga is so much better now. Kevin Pangos, like you said, he is like T.J. McConnell, because Mark Few he loves Kevin Pangos because he's an extension of the coach on the court, just complete floor general. Kyle Wiltshire, newcomer of the year, transfer from Kentucky. I like the way he's playing. It's just a stretch four. He can get it done inside the paint, but he can also step out and knock down the three-pointer, which will make him a weapon, you know, come late in the tournament. So Gonzaga-Arizona matchup would be nice.
Right? And I've said it once and I'll say it again, but I honestly do not believe that Arizona would have beaten Gonzaga in overtime if it was not at the McKell Center.
Oh, yeah. If it was in Spokane, it might be a different story.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Gonzaga?
Gonzaga, I mean, I'm going to talk about the coach again. Mark Few, he's the man. He's been there for a while now, and obviously he has all those players you guys just talked about. I mean, they're definitely tournament ready. They have some experience, and then Wiltshire coming from Kentucky, like obviously he's a talent, you know. So, good coaching, good players, they'll be fine.
Well, I've given my opinion on who is probably going to go to the championship game, but last but not least, here's the answer we've all been waiting for. And who do you each have penciled in to be the next 2015 NCAA college basketball champions? So why don't you start off, Justin?
Now, this is a team that I'm 80% sure half of the country has winning the championship in their bracket, but Kentucky is a team that has a chance to make history. They can go 40-0, which has never been done in college basketball, and this will be a team that will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college basketball team of all time. Kentucky has size from the backcourt with the Harrison twins standing at 6'6", and then the flashiness of Tyler Ulis, another big guard, and Booker. The front court with a potential #1 pick, Karl Anthony Towns, and Willie Cauley-Stein, who I like to call the next Tyson Chandler. I mean, he's sitting at 7 feet tall. It just seems like too much for teams like Arizona and Duke.
You know, they just have such a stacked team. It's like you try and talk about them, but then you have the next name and the next name and the next name, and they have like 2 starting fives.
Like 9 McDonald's All-Americans. Like, how do you do that?
Exactly.
But anyways,
I
do not have Kentucky. Most college basketball experts and fans have the #1 Kentucky Wildcats winning the NCAA National Championship this year, but I have the South's #1 seed, and that's the Duke Blue Devils. Coach K is not only one of the best coaches in the nation, but he's still one of the best recruiters. He snagged Jahlil Okafor, and it's paid off big time. The freshman's offensive game down low is better than any of his potential oppositions in the Final Four and championship games, such as Karl Anthony Towns, Willie Cauley-Stein, Frank Kaminsky, or Caleb Tarczewski. Then the Blue Devils have some of the best guards in the country in Tyus Jones and Quinn Cook. I love how they have Cook as the experienced senior and Jones as a star freshman. These two, along with Matt Jones, can give any front court problems. Whoever Duke faces in the title game is going to be a challenge, but I expect the Blue Devils to win Coach K his 5th national championship.
You know, in one of my brackets, I do agree with you, and I have Duke winning.
How many brackets do you have?
I'm that person that has a lot of brackets.
Okay. Yeah.
ESPN limited me to 10, but, you know.
Yeah.
Mental.
You used all 10 of them.
I did, to the full
And other
extent.
Yeah.
I know. New email, everything. Just kidding. But if any of you viewers and college basketball fans out there agree or disagree about our picks on who will advance during the tournament, comment on our show below. If your pick's all right, we will definitely give you a shout out next week on the show. But for now, that will do it for this week's episode of Channel 3 Sports. Check out our previous shows online and make sure to tune in again next week. For Justin Spears and Jake Cavanah, I'm Zoe Wolkowitz, signing off and wishing you a terrific Tuesday and a March full of madness. You are watching Channel 3 Sports on UA TV.